Welcome to In Exile. I'm Doug Tenaple. I'm the creator of Earthworm Jim, The Neverhood, Cat Scratch, many animated series, 22 graphic novels, which are long-form comic books, video games. I had Game of the Year, and now I'm all washed up. So I thought I'd crawl over here to politics and try to save my country instead.
It's Doug 30, y'all.
We're going to check in on the monster, Letitia James out of New York, who is working against ICE agents once again. This is Democrats. They're radical. We do not vote for them in polite company. They're a defunct brand. And we're going to do a nice evisceration of Stephen A. Smith at the end once again as he interviews J.B. Pritzker. Here's the news on Letitia James.
Attorney General Letitia James announcing a new portal where residents can send photos and videos of ICE operations. James says the portal is meant to review and investigate legal violations by agents, and her statement referenced Tuesday's immigration raid in Chinatown in New York City.
Okay, now, so she's ratting out ICE agents in case there's violations. They can investigate the hell out of them and persecute them further from a legal standpoint. New Yorkers vote for this, of course, because they're stupid. It's not very nice to call them stupid. I would call them Democrat, but that would be even meaner. She wants to catch their violations. Why wouldn't she say, put up your violations of illegal immigrants illegally selling their wares on New York streets? She's not interested in that crime. So all of this will show to be evidence only going one way.
Meantime, House Democrats say they will launch their own similar ICE tracker. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi criticizing that effort, citing a sharp increase in violence against law enforcement. Coming up later.
And that's the goal. The goal is to have sharp violence against our ICE, our immigration agents. That's the goal. That's the Democrat Radical Party. That's their whole agenda. I'm just going to do a quick clip here because I love Kash Patel's work that he's been doing. We'll get to more news. But this is a piece that Kash Patel put out on behalf, officially, FBI Director Kash Patel, on busting up the Mafia, which also, why was the Mafia allowed to rule all these years, but particularly right under Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, the Attorney General, the Biden administration? No one cared about the Mafia popping a cap in someone's knee, blowing out the knee.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Cosa Nostra. The men and women.
La Cosa Nostra is the family. That's the Mafia. Forever the Mafia. How long before we bust these guys? And he's in New York. So is Letitia James going to put together a website to allow them to videotape the Mafia in case these agents have performed some kind of crime to help the Mafia prosecute the FBI?
And up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Cosa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
The Bonanos and the Gambinos. This is like 40, 50, 60 years now. We're fighting this one family. We did get Al Capone because he cheated on tax fraud. Never got him for killing people.
And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI.
Okay, so this is just that they were rigging sports things for sports gambling. This is what happens when you legalize gambling, guys. All they do is they go in and they rig the sports and they still make their bets, which is what the Mafia has always done. Over 100 years of this, guys. Here's Tulsi Gabbard on, I believe this is on Barack Obama being.
Jesse reminds me of the reason why I and so many others have left the Democrat Party. When you look at this party that is more interested in protecting criminals, cartel members, gangs, those who are causing incredible harm, ravaging our communities across the country, than they are actually standing up for the victims. You see a party that in many cases celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You see a party now that is essentially putting the lives of our law enforcement and their families at great.
Democrats are pro-murder. First of all, we knew that with abortion, but also when they championed Charlie Kirk, they called Charlie Kirk, after all, he was just a 31-year-old fetus. So they really championed his death. Party of murder are the Democrats. People die when Democrats are elected. 300,000 little Mexican children that they say Trump is racist and hates. The Democrats just merely sold them into sex slavery. That's Democrats. They do not care about women. They don't care about minorities. They're anti-life. They believe men can be women. They believe children should have all of their organs scrambled by a medical professional, taken away from their parents by the state. They're evil. They're pro-crime. So when Trump goes in and busts these murderers and the R word, going after our girls, underage girls, beheading them in some cases, imprisoning them, Letitia James, the Democrat Party, they're for the master ICE tracker to help illegals track what they do and videotape them so they can prosecute them, ICE agents at the legal level, while they bust criminals. So I was happy to see Kash Patel busting the mafia also. This is the Democrat Party, says Tulsi Gabbard.
Great risk.
And she's not a Democrat anymore. She looks very Democratic. She's a very Democratic woman, but she has values. She goes, you know what? I'm not a murderer. It reminds me of that scene in The Rocketeer at the very end when the pro-Nazi bad guy wants to steal the jetpack of the Rocketeer and give it to the Nazis. And he wants the mafia to help him bust Cliff Secord, the hero. And the mafia guy stands up and goes, hey, I might be in the crime family. I might be a mafia, but I'm not going to do work for no Nazi. And he turns around and helps bust the bad guy. Some Democrats draw a line, and Tulsi Gabbard's one of them. She's a Democrat. She goes, I can't be in that party anymore. They're pro-crime.
This is not the values of our country. This is not the values of the First Amendment and peaceful protest. This is a party that's undermining the very foundation of our country and putting the American people at risk, which is why
the Democrat Party is branding it as we're peaceful protests. We're just protesters. And she's calling them out going, that's the soft sell surface of the Democrat Party. Deep down inside, it's really death, pro-crime, pro-mayhem, anti-law, anti-establishment, anti-the thin blue line. And speaking of thin blue lines, I like her thin gray line in her hair. That's, again, cool fashion. We're going to get a little bit into Mike Johnson right now because we're in the shutdown. And guys, I'm here branding against the Democrats during the shutdown. You're going, Doug, I've heard all this before. I have too. The Democrats are trying to ruin Trump by closing the government down. It's the only play they have. They have to tear the government down, destroy the Trump administration. They have no reason to open it back up because this is their only play. So we're trying to pressure them. The argument is being played out in public on social media. I'm doing my part in presenting our side, MAGA. I'm mocking the Democrats. I want them destroyed. I want to champion Trump in wanting to open the government back up. Branding, because Democrats no longer own media. But as it doesn't do any good on our side, if I don't cover our side, or cover the issue, I should say, and promote our side and destroy the other side. That's why I cover this, guys, is I have to do my job in demolishing the Democrat Party and their efforts to destroy the Trump administration. Look at Mike Johnson here. He's learning to raise his voice a little. He's getting a little meaner. He's becoming more MAGA. I like it.
At the time in October and November to work through that with all the members. I refuse to go in a back room with Chuck Schumer and make a deal. I don't operate that way. It's not good for the people. It's not good for financial stewardship. And it's part of the reason we're $37 trillion in debt as a nation.
By the way, if Adam Schiff ever asks you to go into a back room, you better call the police. Never. If he has duct tape in his hand too, especially, don't do it, Mike. Adam Schiff, don't. If he calls you into the back room, don't do it.
You have 2 or 3 or 4 people in a back room doing that. We're not operating that way.
3 or 4 people in the back room doing it. That's very much the Democrat Party. Democrat Party, when they go in that back room, you open it up and it looks like a Cronenberg film.
It's Chuck Schumer's old way. We need this to work for the people again, and that's what I'm insistent upon. And I'll keep telling them that publicly and privately.
Yeah. publicly, privately. I like this. I like him taking a punch. He's on another channel over here on CNN. Again, he's doing the hard work of mass media. You have to do the media. This is what Mike Johnson released on his Twitter account. So I know that this is the messaging they're going with, he versus Kate Collins. On Kate Clark. He's going to bring up Catherine Clark, the second in command Democrat that said the people suffering is part of their plan.
The person who can answer that question is Chuck Schumer and his Democrat colleagues in the Senate. They've now voted a dozen times to keep the government closed. And this is really important, Caitlin. Today, there was a big development on Capitol Hill. The second highest ranked House Democrat in leadership, Whip Catherine Clark, admitted openly that they have shut the government down and that they are using hardworking American families as leverage for what? So that they can show a fight against Trump and also so that they can restore $200 billion in free health care paid for by U.S. taxpayers to illegal aliens. Yes, that's in their bill. And it's just part of the $1.5 trillion that they have demanded to spend. We're not going to do that. They know we're not going to do that. And she said in her own words today, quote, "We know that families will suffer, but this is only one of the leverage times that we have." She said that in her own words.
We know families will suffer, but this is the few times that we have that leverage. Now look at Caitlin over there on the left. Watch your eyebrows up. What?
And it was pretty shocking today to hear them say that. They usually don't say the quiet parts out loud.
Yeah, and does she have a follow-up question on those Democrats at all? Never, because she's carrying their water. This is her party. They vote for that whole thing. Now, this is an old clip of John Solomon about Barack Obama. I like this as a refresher because this is about, doesn't he have presidential immunity when we bust Barack Obama, which is coming? John Solomon explains how it works under oath if you have presidential immunity.
I want to address Obama for a second. I know President Trump has every right to be frustrated with him. I think President Trump's analysis last week was right. I think my immunity rule might protect him on the original charges. That's what most legal experts tell me, that ruling is so sweeping it will protect Obama for what he did in office. However,
so while Obama's in office, he gets presidential immunity just like Trump got.
Barack Obama can now be summoned before a grand jury. He cannot take the Fifth Amendment because he has immunity from prosecution.
So you can't take the Fifth Amendment, which is so that you don't incriminate yourself by answering a question. You could further incriminate yourself. Because you have immunity, you can't make that claim. You can't take the Fifth. He has to answer the question. But what happens if he lies under oath and he's no longer covered by presidential immunity of what happens in office?
He'll have to tell the truth. If he lies as a private citizen about what he did as president, he'll no longer have that immunity. And that is a trap that Obama is sitting potentially facing. And I want to say the irony to that, because on January 5th, 2017, he presided over a meeting in the White House where the FBI had just cleared Mike Flynn of any wrongdoing. And they schemed in that meeting how they might be able to jam up Mike Flynn. And they came up with the idea, we'll lure him into an interview, catch him into a lie, and then prosecute him that way. Barack Obama now is about to face a potential similar situation as the one he created unfairly for Mike Flynn.
So Obama set the trap for Mike Flynn, and now welcome to the government you created. This is my beef. This is also why I don't believe it is revenge. Our lawfare against them is justice. Their lawfare against us was evil. They took the first shot. All we're doing is saying whatever you guys said was the law, and it was acted on as the law, and neither Republicans screamed enough about it, nor Democrats. You can't now start screaming about it when we take what you call the law and apply it back to you. Do you see how that's not revenge? The motive isn't evil. The motive is justice, because it's not a law if it's only performed against one side, okay? If it's only allowed to be performed against Trump, but not against Democrats, it's not a law. It's not a principle. It's not the Constitution. You don't have a republic. It's not the truth. The truth must cut both ways. As they said, no one is above the law. Must be the standard. So now every Trump has the right to perform everything that was done against him in the name of the law and our justice system and the Constitution must be allowed to be done on them. That's not revenge. That's how the law works. If it's not done, then you do not have a law. So it's not revenge. Don't let people fool you on this rhetoric, guys. I'm going to keep stinging that over and over again philosophically. Now we're going to end on some dessert. Stephen A. Smith over here interviewing Pritzker.
Governor Pritzker, I got to ask you this because, listen, I'm a black man raised in the streets of New York City. And
hold on now, stop the presses. What do you mean you're a black man? I don't know about you, but I wasn't aware. He's going into this whole anti-Trump thing now with Jasmine. And I said, who got to him on yesterday's video? I go, who got to Stephen A. Smith to get him to change his tune against Trump? And many of you speculated Hillary. And here's Hillary got to him. Here's how that phone call might have gone with Hillary. She goes, hey, Stephen A. Smith, I notice you're kind of against Jasmine Crockett and kind of too much for Trump. And he goes, oh, yes, Hillary, I'm so sorry. She goes, I have a job for you. And he goes, well, I'm already a multi-million-dollar news announcer with zero original ideas. And then she goes, I was thinking of having you clean my house. They're always hiring the help. And then you go, no, I make too much money to clean the house. And she goes, oh, no, actually, Barack Obama wanted to hire you to be his personal chef out at the Hamptons. And you go, oh, no, I hate Trump. Miss Hillary, don't do that.
I can't tell you on how many occasions I've been incredibly alarmed by, hearing one thing after another about the violence in the city of Chicago. I know you're not the mayor of Chicago. You're the governor of the state of Illinois, and I respect that. But I know that Chicago is not the murder capital. There's at least 6 different cities that are worse, for crying out loud. St. Louis, I believe, has been measured as the worst.
Go say that Chicago's not that bad to some 16-year-old black girl that was shot in the head yesterday, or some baby that go tell them how, hey, it's only 6th worst. Stephen A. Smith carrying the water, helping them obfuscate crime, as if that's acceptable by what happened to America the Beautiful, America the Great? What happened to Make America Great Again? Make America 6th in crime rates is Stephen A. Smith's standard. You fraud.
But I still ask this question.
X.
It's been incredibly alarming to hear one year after another, what's been going on in the streets of Chicago. And even though the numbers are down, and I've read them before you came on there, homicides are down 32%, shooting incidents have decreased.
Yeah, down when they're a record number high, they're down to 6. They went from 1st to 6th. Congratulations, take a bow. Aren't you just an amazing, tough on crime guy?
By 37%, robberies are down by 31.9%. All of that being true, it still alarms me that so much stuff has gone on in the streets of Chicago spanning decades.
Neither of these men would live in those neighborhoods, by the way, with those numbers. They would not. There's bullet holes and bars on all of the doors and windows. Neither of these men, a black man and a white man, united. Ebony and ivory, I wouldn't be caught dead in Chicago. In those cities, these guys would not live there. So don't give me those numbers of 39% down. In absolute terms, you don't want your car broken into. You don't want your daughters abducted. You don't live there. They live in rich, white, honky, elite neighborhoods.
How concerned have you been about it? And most importantly, how do you address local families asking for ICE and local law enforcement just to keep them safe? Because that has happened.
Yeah, the families. How dumb are those families to ask for ICE and for Trump to come and rescue their corrupt neighborhoods?
I appreciate your asking that question. When I came into office, my predecessor, the Republican governor, actually had cut funding for our state police and had cut community violence intervention programs to 0. And so I came in and you saw, what do you know, an increase in crime across the state. And so we invested in, I've added so many more state police than have been there in quite a long time. And we've invested in community violence intervention.
And state police on the Mafia dole, all Democrats, soft on crime, recategorizing crime, violent crime as misdemeanors and catch and release.
And it's working. And you can see it if you look back 4 years. Every year we've reduced significantly. It's now homicide rate down 50% now.
Yeah, because they killed them all.
From 4 years ago. Well, there's a lot more work to do. I don't want to suggest to you that we're done. We're not. And that's why, once again, we continue to make the investments here. But Donald Trump actually defunded the police when he moved all of those agents over into ICE and CBP and took them out of civilian law enforcement. And
he couldn't touch the illegals without doing it. He could not go in and touch an illegal because of your policy. Local control over the police wouldn't allow it. So he had to convert them to ICE agents. This is a liar.
And he took away the community violence intervention grants that were being given to cities all across the country. So I don't understand. It's like the man is, he's got schizophrenia or something, right? On the one hand,
schizophrenia that ends crime if you allow his agents in to turn it around, like in Portland.
He
like in
says he's a
DC.
law and order Republican.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he's defunding the police, which is
Again, they will talk about the defunding police. They will not talk about the hard numbers of Trump stopping crime everywhere he goes. Stephen Smith, any follow-up on this?
and he's
No,
not helping
no.
us. I can tell you that.
Yeah, okay. What a joke. What a complete joke. These men have no compassion for the suffering of everyday Americans that have no power in Chicago, that are suffering on the streets of Chicago. Pritzker is going to say Trump's the one that's actually for crime. He's for cutting the cops, and he wants to go in and end crime. I'll go ahead and skip the Gavin Newsom news because a court came in, went en banc all the way against Gavin Newsom, allowed Trump to bring the National Guard into California. I believe he'll clean up San Francisco next, but I'll see if I can fit that story in on the next episode. And for those of you guys who subscribe, just do a search for the Doug In Exile channel every time you get on YouTube. If you don't get notifications, you can go just click the videos on my channel and get the new videos. I post them Central Time, noon, 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. every day. You guys know I'm here like a clock. If you show up and do the search, you'll find them. But make sure you subscribe. That's how we get me to 700,000 subs. I'm Doug In Exile.